And to get a perspective on that rapidly evolving situation in Iran is a very special guest, Ambassador Talmiz Ahmad, widely regarded as India's foremost expert on West Asia, has been former envoy to Saudi Arabia, UAE, Oman, and author of a book on West Asia at war. Appreciate your joining us, Mr. Ahmad. What's your sense? The Americans now are pulling their troops out from the region. Iran is threatening to strike US military bases in the Middle East. Are we heading towards a warlike situation, or do you see a pullback?
There is no evidence of a pullback so far. Every day we see rhetoric from the American president that is aggressive, threatening, challenging. And therefore, we cannot at this stage say that there is any sense of prudence apparent as far as Washington is concerned.
But you see, Mr. Ahmad, as we've been seeing over the last few days, Donald Trump seems to indicate that he's ready to strike militarily. He wants a regime change. Is it that easy to effect a regime change in Iran? Is Iran like Venezuela, where Trump could pick up Maduro overnight? Iran is surely going to be far more tricky and complicated, particularly if the US strikes militarily with boots on the ground.
The US president has said so many things over the last few days that it is impossible to see clearly what exactly his intentions are. He has spoken primarily about protecting the protesters and has threatened the regime with massive retaliation if they continue the killing spree. Associated with this, there are reports, possibly misinformation, about the number of casualties that have emerged so far. He has not really talked about regime change so far in the categorical way that the Israelis used to do in the past. So I think we need to be a little cautious here. He recognizes the fact that you can't do regime change. Commentators have noted that he has recalled the experience of Jimmy Carter some years ago when they had sent certain troops into Iran and they had a serious mishap at that time. So we are getting a mix of signals, very tough rhetoric, but at the same time, there is a certain degree of caution also apparent as far as the American president is concerned.
What do you see happening within Iran? You've seen the region closely. How do you see things panning out within Iran? Are these protests qualitatively and quantitatively different to what we've seen in this country over the last 40-odd years?
This is a very serious escalation as far as the protests are concerned. There is no doubt about it. They are widespread. They have attracted a very large number of participants. There have more than half the country has been engulfed, and it is really an expression of extreme economic privation as far as the people are concerned. There is an air of desperation because as far as the economy is concerned, there is rampant inflation, there is widespread unemployment. Actually, food prices have gone up by 72%, and overall, over the last year, there has been a national inflation of about 84%. The efforts of the government to manage the economy and to bring down tensions have so far not succeeded. There can be no doubt at all that there is a foreign hand encouraging these protests as well. However, there have been equally serious protests in the past, and it is also quite likely that the government will be able to bring them under control sooner rather than later.
You mentioned foreign hand. Can you be more specific? Are you saying that it is possible that Israel, the United States, or possibly some countries in the Gulf region are fishing in troubled waters?
If you look at the situation from the perspective of the rulers in Tehran, they are unanimously convinced that there is a very strong Israeli hand with regard to these protests. Israel has made it clear that they are going to foment discord, that in fact these protests are a continuation of the attacks that it had mounted some time back. There has been, and you know, the Israeli capacity to penetrate into the Iranian administration is quite robust and has been proven successful in the past. So I think, as far as Iran is concerned, we can be completely certain that there would be a very strong Israeli hand involved in this. With regard to the Americans,
But
I'm
do these
sure that the Americans would be working in some shape or form with the Israelis. Now, whether this is done directly on the streets of Iran, or whether it is done through cyber security interventions, or whether there is some other means, with regard to the and it could be with regard to the internet connectivity, all kinds of things. They have been smuggling equipment into the country. So yes, I am convinced, and this is the view that is widely held across the region, that there is a robust American and Israeli hand that has been fomenting this discord.
But there doesn't seem to be any leadership among the protesters, is there? The very fact that that the Shah's heir apparent sitting in America is the one who's sort of trying to galvanize these protesters suggests that within the country there is no real leadership at the moment, is there, to these protesters?
You're absolutely right to point this out. Popular protests across West Asia, say in the context of the Arab Spring uprisings that had occurred 15 years ago, don't actually have leaders in the sense that there could be a sort of organized mass movement. That is not apparent. And if there were leaders, they would have been already apprehended by now. With mass protests, it's much easier to put pressure on the leadership and possibly even effect government change, but they cannot bring law and order back, and they cannot replace the existing regime. So I think that these protests are a show of force. They are an expression of very serious discontent, but they may even get rid of a few leaders, but I don't think they will be able to effect regime change in themselves.
We've seen, though, Mr. Ahmad, in the last year or so, Hamas, Hezbollah, all the Iran-sponsored militias seemingly on the back foot. Given that, do you believe that the other Arab countries, how are they going to see what's happening in Iran? Would they like to see the decline and possibly the demise of the regime? Is that what countries across the Gulf really want?
There is no evidence whatsoever that any country in West Asia would like to see an American assault upon Iran, with the exception of Israel. None of them. They want to bring peace and security to the region. They have seen enough discord. Iran is not viewed as a threat to the regional security. It is Israel that is viewed as a threat to security. And there is a deep-seated concern, I should emphasize this, the erratic conduct of the incumbent in the White House is also a source of serious security concern all across this region.
So you don't see Shia-Sunni politics playing out in any manner in the months ahead?
Not at all. The Shia-Sunni business had always been exaggerated. It had been introduced by the Americans in Iraq in order to foment further sectarian discord. It was never a serious matter, and certainly by now it has been put on the back burner. There is no evidence whatsoever of a sectarian divide across West Asia today.
May I ask you then, in conclusion, India's position, the very fact that does India have any real options on the table? We've had a long relationship with Iran. We have a less stable relationship at the moment with the White House. But does India have any cards at all on the table? Can India play any role at all? And what does this escalating conflict mean for India?
The escalating conflict should mean a lot for India. If there is an actual American assault upon Iran, I would imagine there will be prolonged conflict. You will remember the American attacks upon Afghanistan and Iraq led to violence for nearly 2 decades. In the case of Afghanistan, they had empowered the Taliban. In the case of Iraq, they had empowered the Islamic State. So the consequences of American action in the region have always been destructive and extremely horrendous. Is Indian government doing anything about it? My answer is no. India is today not directly involved with or concerned about what is happening in West Asia. It has opted to go in for a low-key approach. Its priority as of today would appear to be to placate the Americans and not do anything that would provoke the incumbent in the White House, and therefore they would remain low-key. We have not heard any criticism from New Delhi with regard to what happened in Venezuela. And therefore, we are not likely to hear anything significant from Delhi with regard to what is happening today. I would have liked to see a very strong Indian statement completely rejecting the use of force against Tehran and allowing Tehran to manage its own economy. And you should also remember here, a large part of the role that has been played with regard to the American, that has been played with regard to the breakdown of the Iranian economy has been the sanctions regime and the prevention of sale of Iranian oil in the global market. So there is an American hand that has provoked this scenario. I think India should very strongly make it clear that we do not support violence in our region, because we know the consequences of that will continue to harm our regional interests for several years to come.
Let's leave it there, Talmiz Ahmad. As always, a voice of sanity in an increasingly turbulent world. Appreciate you joining us there and sharing your wisdom. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Rajni. All good wishes to you.